I've got a narrative that I can build here and then I can control. And then as soon as you do that and you believe it, but it's key that you believe in it. Absolutely. You have to believe in your narrative, because if you create a false narrative, you're going to crumble.
Before I introduce my guest to you today, first and foremost, thank you for clicking through and for listening along. You're currently watching the Social Views podcast with me, Social Richard, and we're sitting in the Social Collaboration Studio. You might have heard with those three words that I'm quite passionate about social media, and the whole purpose of this channel is to create value and to share knowledge with you, either as an entrepreneur, an aspiring content creator or influencer, or somebody that has taken the time to create their own future. Now, I interview all of the above and create value and try and find out exactly what makes these people tick, exactly what it is that they have done for themselves to create their own success. And I believe that you as well can. Now, today I've got the opportunity to introduce to you Robbie Gillett, who is a podcaster specifically around sport. And we're going to be hearing about how a career in sports psychology ended up going south, why he decided to create a podcast, and how he has followed his passion to enjoy what he does. There have been external factors and people that have inspired Robbie, and we'll be climbing into some of those shortly. But without further ado, welcome and thank you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so down below and let us know in the comment section if there's any other content that you would want to see in the future, or potentially someone that you feel would be a great fit for the show. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Obviously, we met each other now on Instagram. You joined me on the radio this morning, so shot for that. But for this podcast now specifically, so let's start again at base and kind of just maybe give people a background of who you are, where you are, what's your name, what do you do, and then we'll kind of build on it from there. So just like a quick, call it your elevator pitch.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be in the studio. So Robbie Gillett, 23 years old. Two older brothers, which have humbled me, but kept me in check, and I love them for that. Two, obviously, mom and dad, big family orientated, which is it's kept me grounded, it's kept me humble, but given me confidence. University student, 23 years old. Studying sports science at Stellenbosch University, and I have a podcast which I focus mainly on sportsmen, sportswomen, but really the idea behind it is to dive into their stories, the adversities they've faced, and just explore what it takes to be a high performing individual, but also find a balance between having a laugh, because that's what I am. I want to have a good time. I want to have a connect with you, and it's finding that balance. And sure, that's a challenge on its own, but we slowly get in there. I started and run the party stand for the Stormers, which is cool. We spoke about it before when we connected a little bit, but it allows me to fulfill another passion of mine, which is bringing people together and seeing people interact and meet each other. And for me, that gives me a real thrill, as weird as it sounds, but I love it. That's about it. A little bit of TikTok stuff, rugby challenge, gaming, all in all, just trying to entertain and grow. And grow, it's as everyone's told, like, don't worry too much about the growth, but man, for me, that's one of the most important bits. Like, to see, not as an ego thing, but just to see you be able to build something. It's the most incredible, and you can get stuck into it. You can get, but for me, I love it. I love just seeing, like, okay, it's almost like a reward for work you've done.
Okay, lekker. So that obviously gives those that are watching now like quite a good idea. So I want to start at, how do we get here? How are you here today, and why you're here, and why I thought, like, I need to speak to this guy. So a quick backstory around that. So as you know, my passion is social media, working with people in the industry, content creators and influencers, and everything that makes social media it. I strongly, wholeheartedly believe that social media presents opportunities more so than any other medium, more so than anything else really in life. And I say it cautiously, but you know, if you can't go to school, you still have a future with social media. And so Liam, one of my team members, reached out to me and said, hey, so I found this guy in Stellenbosch doing podcasts around sports people. I thought to myself, this is super unique. You're right freaking here. I need to get you in. So first and foremost, shot for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here. It's nice to connect.
To connect. So for me, let me maybe just start in the beginning, and then I kind of want to dive into how you started that podcast, where you got to where you are. So you and I had like a quick little 1-2 at one of the coffee shops here in the sanctuary, and you know, in like 10 minutes I was able to summarize who I think you are, what your vibe is, and I can see that you obviously know it, but when you speak about sport and fun and connecting people and everything else that we're going to dive into, you can almost start seeing like a little smile come up. And that, to me, someone that's passionate about communication and body language and things like that, to me that proves to me that is, you're legit about that, like you're 100% authentic. And that's really cool.
Well, I appreciate that, bro.
Let's start. Why start a podcast? Because that's why you're here. So why start a podcast first back in 2020?
2020, yeah.
Take us down that path. What was the purpose? What were you thinking, and why? Because then there was like a period of like almost a year where nothing happened, and you know, opportunities were potentially lost. You'd never know, but you know what? You started again, and because of that post, which I'm 99% sure, and we'll go and check out. But that's why you're sitting here. That's why you had the opportunity on the radio with me today. Is simply because you put yourself out there, you got seen, and here's an opportunity that obviously will work together with in the future. But you know what, we know each other now, we've networked, we connected, and I think you're flipping lekker oak. So tell us, where did it start and why?
So it's an interesting story, and I mean, why I started it, I don't know. It's sort of hindsight's a great thing now that I can look back on it. But originally, why I started it, and you know, I didn't start it for it to become a thing, is what I'm trying to get at with that. But why I started it was because 2020, I've had a gap year. I've matriculated 2019 gap year, and then 2020, just before COVID, we have our introductory lecture at UCT for psychology. And my vibe was, I want to do sports psychology. I love sports. I love people. I thought, let's marry the two and make magic. And you know, so I'm sitting there in the first introductory lecture where they go through, like, they show you, this is your course, this is what you're going to go through, and then you can get into honors. And for, you know, they sort of explain how difficult it is to get in. And that's the first time I sort of started scratching my head. Not like, you know.
What did I sign up for?
Yeah, exactly. They take like 5 people out of 500. You're like, well, probably not going to be me. You know?
Sure.
But anyway, so yeah, at the time, they would mention in the honors programs, and they didn't mention sports psychology, which was why I was there. I wanted to do sports psychology, and I'm very arrogant of me. I've gone up to the lecturers, or doctorate or whatever, and I've gone, no, well, you've left out one. You haven't added sports psychology. Well, he has looked at me sort of, okay, well, we don't have sports psychology. So you can imagine, you know, that was
right or wrong place, right time, wrong place.
And that was my future. That's what I wanted to do. I was going to be the sports psychologist for the Springboks, which was my dream. But and then I've called my mom. I've gone, Mom, you're not going to believe this. They don't offer this here. And then we sort of just like spoke about ideas, and then I got in contact with Tom Dawson Squibb.
So before we go too far, like I want to know, because I think it's important, and the reason I want to like hit on those points is there are a lot of other content creators watching, influencers that watch, people that potentially want to take a step in social media.
Yeah.
And there's an important element of your story about taking that first step and just kind of believing and going with it, where you were faced with, well, now it's sports psychology and they don't offer it, so do I just give up? And no, you came up with a different plan. And that's kind of what I want to hit on, is the fact that you kind of took ownership for it and realized, like, okay, here's a dead end. What is plan B? And that plan B became essentially where we're headed now. So tell us about that.
First of all, the lecturer had said to me, like, we go to Stellenbosch. And another thing was, like, my brother was there and he was doing accounting. He was staying there. We were local in Cape Town. So it was flipping expensive to send both kids to Stellenbosch, accommodation or whatever. So that wasn't really an option to go to Stellenbosch. And then, so that's when I thought, you know, so I think looking back now, I think that was probably the thing that got me into a position where I went, okay, well, it's not an option. So I could have gone into Stellenbosch, which I'm thankful I did, you know, a year later when my brother had finished. So that allowed me to go, I can't just go there to Stellenbosch and do a sports psychology. Now I've got to create and figure out a way. And that's where it came, because I could have gone and go, oh, Mom, let me quickly just get Stellenbosch. And then I would have been there being comfortable, because now I'm doing my degree and this is what I want to do. So I'd have been comfortable, wouldn't have thought of other ways. So blessing, it was absolute blessing that I couldn't just, okay, go. And then, so from there, figure out ways. And then I chatted to a guy called Tom Dawson-Squibb, who was at the time the performance and mental skills coach for the Stormers, and was then and still is the Ike Tigers head coach for the Varsity Cup and League. And I asked him, because he was doing what I wanted to do, and I wanted his job. And I've said to him, bro, I've sent him a DM. Yeah, how do I take your job, basically? So I've sent him a DM, again, very bold, just sort of, how do I get into this? What degree can I do? And he said to me, straight up, very honest guy. He's an incredible human being. And he said to me, bro, there's no degree to get into sport. You've got to create an energy around your name.
Okay.
So then I'm like, yo, Tom, cool, but what does that look like? What is an energy?
It's easy to say if you're there. Hey?
I've never heard anyone use the word energy outside of the general term energy. I've never heard anyone describe a human as having an energy, So I'm
energy is like excitement, running around.
Exactly,
maybe
hyperactive.
Yeah, there we go.
Always, and then he's like, no, create an energy. So I'm like, so then I told him, okay, cool, I'm going to start writing. I'll write a bit, I'm our journal.
Are you a writer?
No,
did you want to?
I thought, because this was legit my mindset. I wrote 1 or 2 essays in my first 2 months at uni, and I thought, this is I'm good at this. I wasn't. I got my marks back, and I clearly wasn't. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was great. And then again, that reflected in my when I was writing about sports. I think I wrote maybe a paragraph.
Okay, cool. So you're obviously exploring the journalism potential.
Yeah, sort of take me seriously type vibe. I'm going to write. No idea where I'm going to post it. But didn't work out. I hated it. That was the worst thing in the world for me. And then again, I've just said to Tom, listen, bro, I'm going to interview you. I'm going to start I didn't actually call it a podcast. I said, I'm going to interview you. I'm going to start doing interviews. And then again, just an example of him investing into me, he's then called it a podcast, and I've gone, cool, it's a podcast. I didn't start a podcast. I just started interviewing people, and then he's gone with the whole podcast thing. I'm like, oh, cool, I've got a podcast. Interview them. Man, I was nervous, man. You always think it'll be fine.
I'm going to say, how many, and the worst part is you just have to talk.
Exactly.
Exactly. Until you do it.
Until you do it. Until the lights are on you. I had a little 4,000 Rand laptop that I put up. We clicked on Zoom. We had a beer together. We connected, and he's been incredible. For him backing me. We said earlier, I said to you, your family has to back you, and that's a beautiful thing as well. And you never take that for granted. They have to back you, and they will always back you, and that's beautiful. Until I think a guy like Tom, who man, he's done incredible things in his field, and he's a proper professional. He gave me confidence by backing me. I'm a very average guy, and for him to back me, I've gone, he sees something in me. There's something that I haven't seen in myself. And then once you unlock that, you start exploring and you start doing things, the world just opens up to you.
Awesome. So maybe take us down that path. What, I guess essentially you discover something about yourself, and I can relate to you here in quite a big aspect. As I said earlier, my life path and my mission, and I truly believed I would become an engineer. My thing was structural engineering, and if my previous director is watching now, again, I apologize, but I honestly thought that is what life had for me, because from when I was a youngster, I watched extreme engineering and mega structures, and I was like, oh, frick, I dig it. And it was maybe my human nature is I'm really inquisitive, and I appreciate structures. And then through life, I've always done pretty well at school, and had people invest in me in time, and they'd be like, oh, bro, you'll be a phenomenal engineer. And I'm like, okay, cool. So that must be the life path, right? Yeah. But at some point, when someone sees something in you and potentially just unlocks something, it's an an absolute freaking game changer.
Yeah.
So what did, I mean, this is not about me. What did you find that you were able to unlock about yourself? Like what didn't you know that you're now aware of, that you think, you know, this is empowering me, this is taking me forward? How was he able to add value there?
I think it's as simple as you are able to control your narrative. So as soon as you're able to control the narrative that's around your name, it frees you up, right? So if you're gonna go and just sort of be like, you're happy just to do the degree, and I'm not bashing this is an awesome thing, but if you're happy to do the degree and then go into the job or whatever, that's your narrative you've controlled, and if you're happy with that narrative, awesome. But if you want to do something else and you want to create an energy, that energy is going to control the narrative. So where you put that energy controls what people think of you, in my opinion. So for me, it was, I'm a podcaster. And then it helps when you start building momentum. I'm interviewing this guy, And then all of a sudden, there's a narrative that you've
formed for yourself.
People have bought into a narrative. People buy into a narrative. People buy into your story. Not like they buy into why you do something, not, you know.
But I mean, you've got to be entertaining. You still have to have value. You still, there must be a reason to watch it other than just,
exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
So for me, that was it. Like, his confidence in me, him seeing something in me, allowed me to be like, okay, I've got a narrative that I can build here, and then I can control. And then as soon as you do that and you believe it, but it's key that you believe in it. Absolutely. You have to believe in your narrative, because if you create a false narrative, you're going to crumble.
People are going to see it, right?
Exactly. It's not genuine.
Yeah.
It's not genuine. But as soon as you start like believing it, like, okay, maybe, and the thing is, it's going to build. That's why you build a narrative. The first time it's like, oh, I don't want to do this again. So, and then you do 5 and you go, okay, cool. What's next? Yeah. You allow your goals to shift.
Yes, I can completely relate to that. And I guess it's all about, again, taking that first step. And I think that's probably the hardest thing. And it's becoming more and more, like, the more people I speak to, the more, because essentially where I want to take this is to understand, like, what made you tick? Why did you choose social media? Podcasting isn't essentially, strictly speaking, social media, but it's relevant. You're able to deliver your content on various platforms that you got in a podcast. You know, for you to have seen that as an outcome, or more so as a different way of going about your life. You're able to live out your passion. You're able to do what you love. And I've said this to you more than once, like, you've got that quirkiness, you've got that lack of vibe. And I can't think of a better medium that would actually suit you than podcasting. So it makes complete sense. It honestly does. So, I mean, kudos to you. And I'm excited to see where this is going, because so we've spent the morning together briefly, and you know, we were on radio, and I've heard certain things, and I know adversity for you is kind of almost at the core of why you're doing this. So and we'll touch on that, but let's go from where you started that podcast. So you've had an outside person influence you in some way, potentially open up something in you, and you've taken this first step, and the more you kind of do it, the easier it gets. And as you said, you know, when you get to the next one, you're like, all right, cool, what's next?
Yeah.
And I can relate there, because it's exactly how this went. You know, the first time I was like, fuck, is this mic on? Like, do I do this properly? What do I say? How do really just talk, like, just connect. So yeah, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But you started at a point where, I think, as you said, 2020 or so, where you started the podcast. COVID, boom, the C word. So when you started that podcast, initially there was no real outcome, there was no real reason, there was no real point, I almost want to say. Yeah. So was it just a let's get started and like as a creative outlet, or were you just like stuffing around, or like what was the reasoning there to where you are today?
I always had a big problem with someone calling with a creative. So with the word creative, right? Because I think it has negative connotation, because, you know, my version of creative before I started this was, oh, I've forgot my keys, I haven't picked my kid up at school type of vibe, like lost call.
Yeah.
So that wasn't why I started. I didn't think I was this creative bunny, or, you know, like creative guy who's just gonna let everything flow. And I thought, like, let me just do it. I think I trusted Tom. I trusted the guy who said create energy around your name. Then I did it, and I loved it.
So how? But I mean, and I've absolutely loved that word, and we're going to dive even more into that, creating an energy, because the way I see it, it's creating attention, because that is what drives social media. I mean, if we look at Mr. Beast, creates this epic YouTube channel of everything that he does, and then he opens a burger joint. but he had like all these audiences ready to buy his burgers, and look what happened. So this economy this digital economy is an attention economy, and that's what drives social media. So the fact that you say to bring an energy around your name, I can absolutely understand that. And for you, when you were starting out, although you didn't have a plan, or you didn't have a why or an outcome or a reason or what you were looking to achieve with this, a big part of it that I feel was obviously for you to get started. But how did it start evolving then from that? Because there wasn't a plan. So how did you know to carry on?
When you say carry on, a lot of it was sporadic. So a lot of it was like, I didn't really go with it. It wasn't one every week. It was sort of, I was working with what I had, and I was enjoying it. But like, I'm a kind of guy who there's only so much energy I can give you, right? So if that energy runs out, I become sort of like, I pull back a bit. And I think that's what's happened in my time doing podcasts. When it's like, when I actually am drained, I'm not going to force it. That's something that I can't. It's not that I don't want to. I can't force.
You're not going to be presentable, right? You're going to come across as like, it's just not list for this, right?
Exactly, and I can't hide that. That's something I can't hide. I'm like, if I'm not list, then you'll see it. You'll see it. But what kept it going was, so to be completely honest, it was like a novelty of gone. The World Cup's just happened. We've just won it. I've just chatted to a World Cup winner. Lovely, awesome, ego, pats on the back, well done, Robbie.
Got a lekker platform to
exactly, and Oaks are messaging you, nice. And then eventually that sort of becomes the norm of what you're doing, and then that attention goes away, type 5. They still notice it, but that attention goes away, and then
the hype.
Exactly, and the novelty for me wore off, where I was like,
so then it almost becomes, cool. I don't want to use the word demotivating, but it's almost like, yes, you're now got to do that again. Like I'm
exactly.
losing. It almost feels like a loss, right? Because you're like on this upward, and like people are loving this stuff, and then all of a sudden, no. But that's not. Yeah. That makes sense. That
makes
a hell of a lot of sense.
So the novelty sort of wears off, and then you go, you're not really keen. Let me skip a week, and you do absolutely nothing that week, or whatever. You do your uni, and it's lekker, and you're chilling, and it's watch a TV in the evening, not having to fight with editing or whatever. And then that's what I realized. I realized that. So when we carry on, and I'm sporadic, and then I have that year break. That year break, I was I'll start next week. I'm going to do in person, and then it took me. So I worked with UCT, the Ike Tigers, doing their social media stuff.
Oh, cool.
And this year they had a guy called Tate Harolf, who did a documentary for them, and because he was doing a documentary and shooting stuff, and I was doing social media, we like roomed together when we were on a Manus camp, and we got chatting, and then he was like, and I asked him just randomly, like, really, like, what would you charge me to film and edit a podcast, whatever? And he got back to me, and I liked the number, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And look, that chat was in Jan this year. So it's taken 5 months for me to go, okay, cool, let's do it. It literally just took a conversation with me and Tate, and then he just, it's the most blissful thing ever. I'll organize it. Like next week, I'm chatting to John Dobson, and then a couple of days afterwards, Evan Roos again. So I've chatted to Evan, we go again. And for me, it's I do what I love, and I outsource the rest.
Brilliant.
I outsource the rest, and I think
that's very important.
That's you got to get to a point where you're self-aware enough, I think, to be like, you got to release a little bit.
Yeah, see, really, like, I have to be completely honest. I think like you're speaking straight to me here, and if I can, like, I want to hijack this for 2 minutes, because maybe this will either help you or somebody listening. But what you've just said there is 100% what happened to me, in the sense that where we're sitting here in this collaboration studio, where I now, so this idea I formulated 2.5 years ago. Where we're sitting now, kudos to you for taking 5 months, but it took me 2 years. And it was maybe a mixture of all external factors, aka excuses, however you want to package it. But the point is to just start. So for me and for you, welcome, your episode number 7, but it's literally about just taking that first step. So I have made more progress in creating a podcast, creating content, learning, networking, meeting people, creating new opportunities. You can name them all. I have made more progress in the last 3 to 4 months than what I have in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And at its core, it was literally about just get started. Like, we can't show people behind the scenes what the cameras and things look like, but you can see it. It's not high tech equipment. It's literally like this pole that we're talking about, or I'm talking on. It looks cool because it looks like a podcasting boom. But for those that don't know, like, this is one of those things with the light on. Like, I took the light off and just make it happen. Like, and that was the switch that I made. I was like, all right, well, no one's going to make this happen for you. Like, you just got to go and do it. Yeah. And I feel like that's to a certain degree, maybe, where you're at and how you got to where you currently are. And I think the big thing there is to maybe just believe in yourself. Like, what's the worst that can happen, dude? Like, some guy's going to laugh at you on some comment, on some random post. Like, how's that going to affect my life? So if that's what you're scared about, don't be.
Bro, no one resonates with perfect.
Yeah.
No one resonates with perfect because no one's perfect.
What is perfect?
Well, there we go. So exactly. So there's no definition for perfect, but no one. So if I'd gone straight into in person with the Rode mics and everything, also going, people buy into a journey, and that journey it should be imperfect because do you know how many messages I got this week in person? They've gone, bro, well done, proud of you, proud of the way you've come, because they've come on a journey because they resonate with it. They don't resonate with straight into a studio with flipping
lights and cameras and action and
Kylian Mbappe sitting opposite them. It's like, it's gonna do numbers, but you don't have a personality behind who you are. You're not on a journey. So for me, it's like imperfect action. You got to take imperfect action because if I waited for
the better moment.
Yeah, you would be waiting your whole life. And one of the things that carried me a lot was it was a saying that if you don't look back and cringe or laugh a bit at your first piece of content, you started too late.
Ooh, that's a cool one.
Hey,
that is
because
then
you've waited for it to be perfect. Like, I look back at my first podcast with Tom, and I've gone, oh, bro, you've interrupted him the whole time. You haven't even edited it. So you've clicked it on Zoom, and then you look and you carry on. You go, okay, it's a little bit better. You then come up with a new design, and then guys notice that. People who are watching notice that,
and they can see progress.
Exactly, progress, and see that you put in effort into it, and then they reward you by. And a lot of it, bro, unless you got like millions of followers, a lot of it's community.
Absolutely.
It's community. Everyone's a normal person. Like, I think that's the most freeing thing as well, because when you realize, bro, it's not going to be perfect. Come on, like, you're not going to have this perfect thing. And I'll be honest, my dad is world class at that. And I say this now because, as I said earlier, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Yeah. But I'll have a chat to my dad. I go, it wasn't great, and he's on. So what? You can just improve next time. Like, he'll go, he always says, don't worry about it. And I'm like, yeah, but he's like, no one will even notice.
Yeah, it's not you on camera, bro. It was me.
Yeah. And I'm like, he's very good at reminding me of that. Where it's like
we see this every day and people need to make that connection. And it's like, what I want to take out of that, is just, let's call it, for lack of a better word, not giving a fuck about what people think or what people say. Being reminded about that is obviously very liberating, and it makes you feel free, and you're able to really expand and go beyond your boundaries. You said something, and I have to say it again, that if you don't look back on your first piece of content and cringe, you got started too late. Yes, bro, like, I dig that. Like, that's so proper, because I think there's so many, and we've literally had this discussion so many times with other people in the same seat, and they've said very much the same thing. And I think the root of it is judgment and what people are going to think of you and what you think people are going to think of you. I actually saw a video the other day, and I bring this in again, where a guy was walking and he was on a live, or he did a reel or something, and the whole message behind the reel was stop worrying about what other people think. And this dude was like literally missioning through an airport. Did you see it? And it made such a good point. I was like, bro, like, out of the 400 people that you just walked past, like, maybe one person turned around.
I think there's a family of 3 that sort of did and then looked back down at their phone.
Right, because number one, like, know that it's so normal to do a video call. So you could be on a video call, but while you're shooting that live, you're thinking to yourself, wow, my hair looks weird. Am I saying it right? What if I don't say this now? Like, ooh, did that guy just like look at, and like the reality is no, but you flood yourself so much with bullshit at the end of the day that you end up either stopping or not getting started or carrying on or sorry, I had to share that because I think yes, you made a quality point there.
Yeah, I fully agree. I also think on that, like, people caring and really, like, I don't think many people do. And from my experience, like, if you doing something different or out of the ordinary actually gets rewarded more than not. You know, I think we're at a stage now where guys are going, Brew, like, well done. And they might not know what you're doing. Like, I've got a lot of people that ask questions like, okay, so what, like, cool, you got a podcast, what does that even mean? Whatever. But it's like, a lot of the time at the moment, guys are going, oh, cool, bro, like, what's it about? Like, they're not cool. Going, and I'm not saying this for me, I'm saying this in general for everyone. If you want to start something different, go for it. I feel like we're at a stage now where guys are going, nice, bro. Because I think people realize you can make a career out of almost anything now, because
it's not weird anymore.
No, like, it's not like weird. You're doing this. What are you doing?
You're a phone person. Like, I think that term is like almost like people are like, shit, I wish I started a podcast when I thought about starting a podcast. Like, but start now. But it was maybe weirder 2 years or 3 years or 5 years ago, but like, it's becoming our new normal. It's becoming our new way of communicating and networking, and I'm pumped about that. So let's maybe fast forward slightly in your podcast journey. So, you know, there was a period of time where for a whole year you completely did nothing. Like, the whole channel just went dead?
No, so I was posting rugby challenge videos. So I'd play a game, post it, and those are essentially what, like, kicked off my social media presence.
Okay.
Or
because people did the game, like,
they dig it, and they like sort of, you know, I was lucky in that. So this is just, again, connecting the dots backwards, you know. So
okay, yeah, so that's important.
I've had a break now, and I'm still posting podcasts while doing rugby challenge videos. But in that year, I didn't post a podcast. I didn't post every week, but I posted a couple rugby challenge videos, and I was lucky in that those did nicely, and because of them doing nicely, I got subscribers, whatever. But I was lucky in that it aligned with what my podcast is, because it's rugby fans, it's sport fans, that's
clever, man.
People want, and it's not clever. It wasn't clever. Okay. I didn't do it as like a, this is going to align. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was just said the concept's clever.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, but it wasn't like a
planned for.
No, not at all. It was like a happy surprise, or, you know. And I guess that's, again, just doing something because you don't know what the happy surprise is a year later.
Yeah,
and
I've
only gained subscribers now since doing the podcast again. So yeah, happy surprise, and again, just a perfect example of do it. Do it. It's literally your channel. People want to unsubscribe, they can unsubscribe. Doesn't matter. If you believe in yourself, you know that you're going to gain. See, if you lose a couple a week, it doesn't, like, not the end of the world.
Nice, bro. I like that, bro. You show incredible insight. So from a period where the podcast went, let's call it quieter, because it wasn't a whole period or a whole year, dormant, that's a good word. Then, I mean, so today we're sitting here. How long ago did you actually post again or make it more recent? Are you in the habit now of like making it more on a scheduled or a routine basis, or like how are we looking in terms of effort now versus efforts, say, a year ago? Are you posting more now? Because I'm trying to figure out at what stage did that video that you posted that we just happened to see, a third party happened to see, and they sent it to me, and that's why you here. And there was this like, I could have met you a year ago. Why didn't I? Like that's my question. Why? Yeah. At what point and what video made you sit here now?
So first of all, in person, quality camera, quality mics, people take notice. Okay, so I think that's one. Kate Voliter, some boy here, is an incredible human being, a mate of mine who I was lucky enough to podcast with. So that's made it easy to transition. Okay, so that's another thing. Sure. So I've got a good rapport with him. We get on, we have a flip, we have a laugh, and we enjoy the same things, right? He's just a little bit better rugby player than I, something like that.
Yes, he's so humble there.
And then I think I just posted. I thought, like, I identified this year as, well, not even this year because I didn't do a hell of a lot first little bit, but this next bit of the year as a massive, massive, massive opportunity for me with the World Cup coming up.
Yes.
Okay, so I've noticed that. So then I've gone, cool, I need to start putting out more content. Rugby challenge stuff for me is like, people aren't going to like this, but I don't really dig posting it because it's a terrible game. But it does numbers, so it's like, I find the happy medium. So yeah, I've decided I'm just going to post, and because we have that good rapport, there's so many like beautiful not beautiful, but like good moments.
Yeah, there's some touching.
There's great content there, and I think and I've come up with games. I've thought deeply about it because now I'm putting money in to invest in it, right? And I want to be proud of the product I'm putting out. So there's a pride thing. I've now thought about. I didn't per se prepare as well as I could have, but I've come up with games that have gone viral, like the ones. 125,000. I mean, like over the 8 clips I've posted on TikTok from my podcast with Cade, we've got like 400,000 views.
Jeez,
and then 70,000 on Instagram. So it's like in total almost 500,000 views on short clips.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so and like that's the power of it, and it's purely because of those factors I've just mentioned, and just posting and yeah.
That's really like I love that, and the more you're doing it, like what I can hear is. You're learning and you're applying and you're trying and you're doing. And there's one quality of that I actually wanted to touch on earlier, and I think it probably just slipped my mind, was most successful people are not scared to make a mistake. Certainly not scared of other people's opinion, but it's better to make decisions quick, fail fast, learn fast. And I feel that's kind of something that you're obviously through your dad and through the external people in your life that have influenced you, you're able to apply that quite effectively. And I wholeheartedly believe, besides that you've got confidence and stuff, like you can see that. And it's added so much progress to your podcast and where you intend on taking it. And I damn right agree with you, right? Like it's the best time now because you've got this World Cup coming up. You've just come out of, let's call virality because you've had some content blow up. And now is the most important time to keep it consistent and to go and to gun for it. So, I mean, we spoke earlier about kind of what the future of the podcast is going to hold. I love that you dabble in different ideas, like you bring in the game aspect and then it's like a rugby player. But you mentioned like maybe the evolution of this and where you want to go is you want to start touching on adversity. There's obviously a reason why you're going or gunning for that. And what is that? Like, why adversity? Why are you so aware of that? And why do you want to bring that out?
I think people's stories are beautiful, right? So you got a beautiful story, I've got a beautiful story, my brothers, my parents got beautiful stories. But not as beauty, like it's beautiful, but it's like there's adversity there, man. Like it's not, to have a beautiful story is not just a straight road, it's a journey, it's a journey, it's like a beautiful journey. And I think you can find a bit of value in everyone's story. In my opinion, I think that everyone can add value in a story, and that's why I like the adversity part of it, because and the whole podcast isn't going to be adversity. Like I fully believe that I like to entertain or whatever, but I think where I come in is that I'm able to switch it. Like we can have a laugh and then we can chat a bit serious and
I'm pumped for that, man. Like I think that's it's cool because you haven't like boxed yourself. The fact that you don't know where it's gonna go, I almost want to say, is probably a very good thing because that allows you to keep trying, keep exploring, keep doing. No, let me not rather do that. Wrong person to interview, blah blah, whatever it might be. And I'm pumped for that. So where are we going with this podcast is. You've got the World Cup coming up. Are we going to see more sports people on the podcast? Are we going to have you made a decision onto where, like, what can we expect next? I guess is the next question.
Again, like I haven't thought about it that far, So again, it was just about starting, and where I want to take it, bro. I want to go the distance with it. To be honest, I think I can.
I absolutely believe you can.
Once you find a formula that works, you've got to go for it because. For me, I feel like it took me 2 years plus a year off to figure out a formula that's working at the moment, right? So it's not a binary thing. It's going to change. Your formula. I'm going to get older. The guests are going to get older. Guests are probably going to get younger as well.
Yep.
Because as I get older, the sportsmen get younger. So that formula is going to change. And so for me, it's I don't know what a podcast with Gavin Kaplan, who plays for the Western Province Blitz, cricketer, and he said something that just stuck with me. Is that you must allow your goals. Allow your goals to
move.
Yes, have movable goals. Like allow yourself to. So don't get stuck because now you've reached your goal. Be stagnant. Sure. Yeah, but on the other side of that is, if your goal is here and you're here,
that's also
move your goal.
Here, right?
Move your goal slightly less to achieve it, and then go up from there.
Nice.
So for me, it was no long-term 3-month plan. I did a podcast with Cade, and then. Yeah, and then I'll go from there. It's not, and I looked at the World Cup thing is massive. My thing is I'm gonna try to create as much of an energy around my name, and this is bold because it's 6 months into the year, World Cup's about 80 days away.
You got this, bro.
I want to create as much of an energy around my name where someone goes, we have to take him.
I absolutely love that, bro. Robbie, so I want you to absolutely use this opportunity, this platform, and obviously we're going to be sharing it. There's people that are currently watching live, etc.
I forgot about the TikTok.
Yeah, it's there, right? Absolutely, we got to be social here.
Exactly.
But I hope that it, and I know it will to a small degree add to that and add energy to your name. And absolutely, I mean, I'm actually half pumped for your side because it's once again another brilliant example of someone that is using an opportunity on social media, with or without. I mean, I don't even know what your backstory is in terms of adversity, to the nth degree, how bad or how good your child or upbringing was. But the point is, it's irrelevant. The point is you're living in the now and you're making things happen now. So for me, like I'm pumped to see the podcast itself grow.
Thank you, man.
And I honestly believe that you have it, bro. Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
The fact that you found your passion, you found a super cool niche, and you freaking enjoy doing it. Like you've got the recipe down. Now it's essentially just adding those ingredients. So, from my side, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being on the radio with me. Robbie Gillett. Maybe just for those that are listening and watching, kind of, where can we follow along? Where can we go find you? Where are you going to be publishing? How often do you publish? And maybe if you want to leave any parting words, please do.
Yeah, so you can follow me, Robbie_Gillett. So it's GILLETT, no E on the end. It's on Instagram, TikTok, and then Robbie Gillett on YouTube. And then also, so the podcast is actually called Keeping It Real with Robbie, which was the whole idea around keeping it real, adversity, chatting, stories, and that's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So you can have a look there. I really appreciate that. And in terms of how often I'll be posting, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna try to keep it as consistent as possible, but it's life. We do life as well. Yeah. So
I think it's important that you don't knock yourself down. I actually love that you just because for me it's like, because I work in social media and I speak about social media, I know consistency and that's how you're going to see success. But I love that you're almost nonchalant about it. And maybe the positive thing about that is you're not putting pressure on yourself, because that's what a lot of creators do. That want to create, put so much pressure on themselves to, I have to post, and then life happens, and then you don't post, and then you sit with guilt. And you sit with shit, I'm not getting that, I'm not doing it, and then that it just compounds. So I just have to admit, the fact that you're so nonchalant about it, I think is actually just adds to your value, bro. Honestly.
If you are going to get into the space, what we said earlier, it's just imperfect actions lead to progress, and progress is all we can ask for. And an imperfect action, it's a beautiful thing. And like we said earlier, no one's actually taking notice of your mistakes. And I think people will celebrate you being different. Not being different, but doing something different.
Robbie, appreciate you, bro.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
And we'll see I'll see you on the other side with all the success that I know that you and your podcast will achieve.
Hopefully, brother.
Cheers, bro.
Thank you.
Shout a lot. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.